Nice to see you all. I'm having my moment of appreciation as I see your faces and names coming on. Catherine Kane, she couldn't be here today, so I have to send her some information about whatever we talk about. So there's some continuity. And Fran couldn't be here today because of another appointment. And let's see, who else might come on? Okay. Well, it's a little after, slightly after 9. So I wanted to talk today about generosity. And I was inspired to talk about generosity because last Sunday, IMCW sponsored a teacher from Uganda whose name is Bante Buddharakita. No need to really remember, but he's Ugandan and he practiced a lot in the United States. In fact, he used to practice right here in West Virginia at Bhavana Society. And through his own work, he started a Dharma Center in Uganda. Uganda, he talked about, is a deeply religious, like Catholic religious state. And people took issue with him that he was teaching the Dharma there and opening up a Dharma Center, as if there was a great sense of threat because he was teaching some religion or spiritual practice that they felt was a threat to their religious beliefs. And at some point, somebody actually tried to kill him because of that sense of threat. But he continued. He didn't get put off. He didn't leave in fear. He kept going. And he showed us a lot of pictures of the different ways he was trying to bring these, what he called African Dharma. So had some infusion, some mix with Catholic teachings. He didn't want to challenge these other religions. So he meant to be inclusive. So he started a school. Apparently in Uganda, it's very difficult to get clean water. And they did a lot of work to bring clean water to the communities and schools and work so people could support themselves. It was a beautiful practice. And so from that, I felt what I experienced listening to him was his profound generosity. And it's one of the most important teachings, I think, in Buddha Dharma. There's a list of 10 paramis or 10 perfections, these 10 virtues of living. And it said that generosity is the first, and generosity allows for the others. And just to tell you what all of them are, which is a really lovely practice. Some time ago, I went through all of them. Okay, well, let's see. I don't have it here. This book is a book about these 10 practices of what they're called paramis or perfections. And I can't remember all of them, but I'll tell you what they all are in a second. So generosity is the first. Then it's morality, renunciation, wisdom, energy, patience, truthfulness, determination, loving kindness, and equanimity. Not that you need to remember, but you can sort of get the sense of the qualities of these experiences in this kind of grouping. So generosity, there's so much written in Buddhism about generosity, or the word we use is dana. We say right now, there's one thing we can say is there's 3 types of generosity or giving. One is the material giving. So when we ask if you would donate or give dana for these teachings, that's the material giving, right? There's the gift, the giving of fearlessness. When we encourage somebody, when we listen to somebody, when we can empathize with somebody. And there's the gift of the Dharma, the giving of the Dharma, the sharing of the Dharma. One of the things that Bante Buddharakita said in his presentation that really struck me is he said, nobody is too rich or wealthy to receive. Nobody is too rich or wealthy to receive, and nobody is too poor to give. And so I love that. I just love that as a reminder of that we can all be in this practice. And so I just want to say a little bit more about generosity, and I wanted to make our meditation today about generosity practice and thinking of ways that you have been generous. Oftentimes when we talk about generosity, it's really easy to talk about the opposite, which is greed. And I was thinking as I was preparing for this time that it'd be really easy to think about more the negative aspects of our behavior, how we might have been greedy. But that we also, that's kind of going on the negative side, the negative thinking. But I'd like to say this in the encouragement to be, to when you have been generous. And this might be the opposite, but I wanted to read to you something I'd come across many, many years ago. And you can Google it. It's called The Fisherman's Story. Maybe some of you have heard it. It's a lovely little prose. And so this is The Fisherman's Story. A boat was docked in a tiny Mexican fishing village. A tourist complimented the local fishermen on the quality of their fish, asked how long it took to catch them. Not very long, they answered in unison. Why don't you stay out longer and catch more? I'm going to substitute fishermen for fisher people here. The fisher people explained that their small catches were sufficient to meet their needs and those of their families. But what do you do with the rest of your time? We sleep late, fish a little, play with our children, and take siestas with our loved ones. In the evenings, we go into the village to see our friends, have a few drinks, play the guitar, and sing a few songs. We have a full life. The tourist interrupted. I have an MBA from Harvard, and I can help you. You should start by fishing longer every day. You can then sell the extra fish you catch. With the extra revenue, you can buy a bigger boat. And after that, with the extra money the larger boat will bring, you can buy a second one and a third one, and so on until you have an entire fleet of fishing boats. Instead of selling your fish to a middleman, you can then negotiate directly with the processing plants and maybe even open your own plant. You can then leave this little village and move to Mexico City, Los Angeles, or even New York City. From there, you can direct your huge new enterprise. How long would that take? 20, perhaps 25 years, replied the tourist. And after that? Afterwards, well, my friend, That's when it gets really interesting, answered the tourist, laughing. When your business gets really big, you can start buying and selling stocks and make millions. Millions, really? And after that, asked the fisherman, after that, you'll be able to retire, live in a tiny village near the coast, sleep late, play with your grandchildren, catch a few fish, take a siesta with your loved ones, and spend your evenings drinking and enjoying your friends. With all due respect, sir, but that's exactly what we're doing now. So what's the point of wasting 25 years? Asked the Mexicans. And the moral of this story is, know where you're going in life. You already may be there. Many times in life, money is not everything. Live your life before your life becomes lifeless. So let's see here. So maybe some of you have heard this story before. No? Yeah. It's a wonderful little parable. Please feel free to unmute yourself if you want to make any comments.
That was neat. I liked it. I hadn't heard it before.
You had or had not?
Had not. But that's cute. I like that. It makes so much sense.
It's also very, it's that imperialist, assumption that we know what's right. But I was also thinking when you said the opposite of generosity is greed, I think also there's a middle point that we hear about a lot where people feel, well, I'm not doing enough. Mm-hmm. So it isn't necessarily greed, but, feeling badly about yourself because you're just not doing enough. And I think that can be a heavy burden for many people, especially women. I'll just say, never enough.
I love that you said that because it's easy to think about material generosity. And I know for myself, like when I heard Bante Buddharakita talking, I also felt like, oh my goodness, here's somebody that's doing so much for so many people and so many beautiful endeavors that have come to fruition through some hard work. And I could feel like, well, I don't do that much, just like that, right? And so it might be for this time that we might think about being more generous with ourselves. Showing up here, listening to these teachings, integrating them into your life as to whatever extent you have. Right? Whatever giving, you might have done in the past. And so that is the way I want to kind of guide the meditation today. So yeah, Pat, did you want to say something?
Well, just a question, and I like this story and I like everything you've said. One thing that I often hear is when giving, check one's motives to see whether you're doing it to fan your own ego and say, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff. And another is to do it. The other extreme is to do it anonymously. I didn't hear that mentioned here with Buddha, but what's Buddha's position on that?
Great. It's so great you asked this and the things that both of you have brought up. Well, true generosity is the way it's defined that I understand in Buddhism is giving without any expectation to receive back. That's the purity of giving. And so I've had times where I like to tell a story about where I gave a gift anonymously to a friend. I never intended to make it anonymous, but when I went to deliver the gift, she wasn't home. I wanted to drop it off at her house, and I left it there, and I didn't have a pen to write a note, so I just left it there. And then and after the fact, it occurred to me, it was like, what if I don't tell her it was from me? What if I never say? And I had so much joy from doing that. I was like, it just sort of like was like, wow, I really don't expect anything back. And I never told her. Right? And then I tried it again, I don't know, a few years later with somebody else. And she said to me, I know you gave this to me. And there wasn't as much joy.
Oh, darn it.
Right? But the purity is that we're giving with no expectation of giving back. And then, Pat, you said another point that also is, I can't remember what else you said, but that hopefully it'll come back to me. Yeah. So I just want to say a little bit more about this. So this addresses some of what you brought up, Pat. Generosity is caring with an open heart, like there's no holding back. It's one of the heart practices. True generosity happens when we let go. We let go of needing, or there is a sense of having enough. I think that's what somebody said, that there's a sense of having enough. Or in what you were talking about, Gina, is like we might say, I am enough. Right? There can be a sense of abundance when we feel like we have enough or we are enough. That generosity has nothing to do with how much we have, but it's an openness of heart and a deep caring. It's about letting go. So a lot of times we talk about generosity practice along with renunciation practice. It's a letting go. I have a couple of quotes here. I don't know who. It's this letting go activity that helps to weaken and reverse painful attachments and longings. I like this in psychology. Generosity challenges our narcissism, right? Our self-absorption, our self-cherishing, and our need for more, which we see now. I think I see it now in people teaching and offering Dharma. Our need for more is often inculcated with advertising and marketing. Right? Just the whole industry of advertising and marketing in any arena where there starts to be some more income generated. And lastly, I just want to say that can be, when we are truly generous, there's a blur between giving and receiving. It no longer feels like two distinct practices. Yeah, Gina, please.
Well, you demonstrate that every week when you comment on how much you feel when you see us all gather here. Mm-hmm. But we're here because you're giving us something every week without fail. And in addition to doing the preparation that you do, so, right, it is happening every time we meet, right? Yes, Lisa, both.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, that's true. Thank you for pointing that out, because it is true that I feel a great sense of joy. And that was the other factor in generosity, is that when we give, the natural really byproduct is joy. We feel joy when it's that pure. because there's nothing held back. Right? And I often think about it when I offer Dana at a retreat or to a teacher, to a mentor, not giving so much, but not holding back. And I let that be a little struggle inside. So I invite you to do this meditation today, thinking about, ways that you have given, maybe to yourself or to others, that have brought you some joy or a sense of satisfaction. So let's take our seats. Whatever your meditation seat might be. Taking a few moments just to settle here. Just as you come to your intention to sit quietly, feeling the body. After all that talking, some sense of quieting. Feeling the body. Remembering there is a body. And there is a body sitting. Perhaps there's a sense as we come into this intention and feel the body, a homecoming to meditation, to waking up, to being mindful, to softening. To caring. And if you haven't done so already, connecting with the breath. With both the in-breath and the out-breath. And in this very elemental way of being mindful of the breathing, we might sense the in-breath as a receiving. and the out breath as a releasing. Receiving and releasing, allowing yourself to know that, to feel that on a physical level. Breathing in, we receive. Breathing out, we let go. No wrong experiences. If this is pleasurable or averse for you, our practice is to be awake and aware. To whatever is arising. So if you like, you can stick with the breathing practice of receiving and releasing. Or you might bring to mind some experience of generosity. Since there's no difference between giving and receiving when it's done with the purest heart, you might bring to mind an experience where you've been giving, where you have been generous, where you have received generosity. Generosity helps us to open out of greed. We begin to feel less needy materially, emotionally, and spiritually. There's a felt sense of having enough. And perhaps some aspiration is born of that having enough. The aspiration then might be to give, to make an offering. It can be material, can be the gift of fearlessness, can be the gift of the Dharma, the teachings. This is from Bante Buddharakita. He said there's a saying in Senegal, if more people come to the bowl, there will be more food at the bowl. Please bring your palms together in front of your chest if this bowing is in your practice. And as I always like to say at this point, please appreciate your own efforts. This act of generosity towards yourself, self-giving, showing up here, receiving the teachings, practicing the teachings, making the effort to think about ways you have been practicing these teachings, and today this practice of generosity. Sometimes the simple act of showing up is generous in and of itself. The ways we care practices of generosity offering. And then feel free to drop your hands, move around as you might need to. I just wanted to share that I did have this spontaneous feeling during the meditation of wanting to make a donation to this Uganda Buddhist Center, which I had thought of when I heard Bante Buddharakita speak last Sunday and never followed up on it. So I made an intention that as soon as we get off this call, that I would make that donation. And so if you feel so moved, I put the link for that center in the chat. Not so much that you make a donation, but just to maybe see and feel perhaps some joy at seeing what has been created in a place where people have had very little, and the abundance that they're enjoying. Okay, well, thank you all for showing up here today and for your sharings and your practice. Okay. Be well.